Hiranyakashipu was not born evil. His heart was twisted by grief and this burning desire for vengeance. He was an asura, a being often seen in opposition to the devas, the gods. His younger brother, Hiranyaksha, had been slain by Varaha, the boar incarnation of Vishnu. This act, meant to restore cosmic order, felt like a personal attack to Hiranyakashipu. He saw Vishnu not as a preserver of balance, but as a partial god who favored the devas. This perception fueled an all-consuming rage within him. He vowed to become so powerful that no one, not even the gods, could ever harm him or his people again. He wanted to rewrite the rules of the universe, placing himself at its very center. His ambition was not merely for power, it was a quest to conquer fear itself, specifically, the fear of death. He saw the devas, with their long lives and divine powers, as the source of his suffering. His logic was simple. If Vishnu could kill his brother, then Vishnu was his enemy. He decided to undertake a severe penance, a tapasya, to gain the attention of Brahma, the creator god. He wanted a power so absolute that it would make him the one and only god, the supreme ruler of all realms. This intense desire for control stemmed from a deep-seated insecurity. Hiranyakashipu saw the world as a place of constant conflict, a zero-sum game where one must dominate or be dominated. He subjected himself to extreme austerities, standing on one toe for years, allowing ant-hills to grow around him, until, the very fabric of the cosmos began to tremble under the heat of his penance. His resolve was so strong that it forced Brahma to appear before him, ready to grant a wish. This was the moment Hiranyakashipu had waited for. When Brahma appeared, he explained that absolute immortality was impossible. Creation implies destruction. That which is born must one day die. This is, the fundamental law of the universe. Hiranyakashipu, clever and cunning, understood this limitation. So instead of asking for a single, direct boon of eternal life, he decided to create a fortress of conditions around his existence. He meticulously crafted a series of negatives, a web of rules so complex that he believed no loophole could ever be found. He thought he could outsmart destiny, that he could use logic to defeat the very concept of death. His request was a masterpiece of strategic thinking, designed to make him functionally immortal. He began his list of conditions. "O Creator," he declared, "grant me this. Let my death not be brought about by any living entity created by you." He then continued, specifying further, "I shall not die indoors, nor shall I die outdoors." He was covering every possible location. He added another layer, "I shall not meet my end during the day, nor shall I meet it during the night." He had now locked down both space and time. He felt his safety growing with each condition he named. He was building a cage, not for an enemy, but for death itself, believing he could trap it in a paradox from which it could never escape. His list went on, growing more detailed and specific. Let me not be killed on the ground, nor in the sky. He was ensuring no physical plane could be the stage for his demise. I shall not be slain by a man, nor by a beast. This was a crucial condition, as he saw these as the primary agents of violence and death. He was systematically eliminating every known category of being that could pose a threat. He was so focused on the known world, on the creatures and scenarios he could imagine, that he became blind to the possibilities that lay beyond his limited perception. He was, in essence, trying to map the entire universe of threats and wall himself off from it. Finally, he added the last set of conditions, feeling utterly triumphant. Let me not be killed by any weapon, whether handheld or thrown. Let me not be killed by any deva, asura, or any other celestial being. With this, Hiranyakashipu believed he had sealed every possible crack. He had accounted for beings, places, times, and methods. In his mind, he had achieved the impossible. Brahma, bound by the rules of penance, had no choice but to grant this complex boon. Hiranyakashipu returned to his kingdom, no longer a king but a self-proclaimed god, convinced that he was invincible and that his reign would be eternal. As Hiranyakashipu's power grew, so did his arrogance. He declared himself the only being worthy of worship, and enforced this decree with, an iron fist. The devas were driven from the heavens, and the sages were forced to chant his name instead of the gods. It was in this environment of fear and forced adulation that his own son Prahlada was born. From a very young age, however, Prahlada showed no interest in his father's might. Instead, he was naturally drawn to the stories of Vishnu. While still in his mother's womb, he had heard the celestial sage Narada sing praises of Vishnu, and that divine music had imprinted itself upon his soul. Prahlada's devotion was pure, simple, and unwavering. He saw Vishnu not as an enemy but as the all-pervading spirit of the universe, present in every atom and every being, including his own father. When his teachers tried to instruct him in the arts of politics and power, Prahlada would instead speak of love, compassion, and surrender to the divine. His father, Hiranyakashipu, was infuriated by this. He could not understand how his own flesh and blood could worship the very being he considered his mortal enemy. He saw Prahlada's devotion as an act of rebellion, a personal betrayal that undermined his authority. The father's attempts to indoctrinate his son were relentless. He would summon Prahlada to his court and demand to know what he had learned. Prahlada would calmly reply with teachings about Vishnu's greatness. "Father," he once said, "the greatest knowledge is to see the divine in all and to treat all with love." This was poison to Hiranyakashipu's ears. He wanted his son to be a reflection of his own strength, his own ambition, and his own hatred. Instead, he was faced with a child whose strength came from faith, whose ambition was spiritual, and whose heart was filled with a love that Hiranyakashipu could neither comprehend nor command. The conflict between father and son was a clash of two opposing worldviews. Hiranyakashipu represented power through force, control through fear. Prahlada represented power through faith, freedom through devotion. The more Hiranyakashipu tried to break his son's spirit, the stronger Prahlada's faith became. It was a quiet resistance, a gentle defiance that was more powerful than any army. Prahlada did not fight his father with weapons, he fought his father's ideology with love. This infuriated the demon king even more, for how can one defeat an enemy who refuses to be an enemy? His patience exhausted, Hiranyakashipu decided that if his son could not be corrected, he must be eliminated. The ultimate test of power in his mind was the power over life and death. He subjected Prahlada to a series of cruel and deadly punishments. He had the boy thrown from the highest cliffs, but Prahlada landed safely as if held by an invisible hand. He ordered him to be trampled by enraged elephants, but the mighty beasts grew calm in the boy's presence, gently nudging him with their trunks. He had him thrown into a pit of venomous snakes, but the serpents simply coiled around him without causing any harm, their venom rendered inert by his devotion. Each failed attempt only strengthened Prahlada's faith and deepened Hiranyakashipu's frustration. He tried poison, but it turned to nectar in Prahlada's mouth. He had him cast into a raging fire, but the flames did not touch him. Finally, Hiranyakashipu called upon his sister Holika, who had a boon that made her immune to fire. She was instructed to sit in a pyre with Prahlada on her lap, intending for the boy to burn while she remained safe. But faith works in mysterious ways. The boon protected Holika only when she entered the fire alone. As she sat with a malicious intent, the boon failed her. She was consumed by the flames while Prahlada emerged unscathed, chanting Vishnu's name. Driven to the brink of madness by his powerlessness, Hiranyakashipu dragged his son to the center of his court. He pointed to a large stone pillar and roared, "You keep speaking of this Vishnu of yours. You say he is everywhere. If he is everywhere, then is he in this pillar?" Prahlada, with the serene confidence that had so enraged his father, calmly replied, "Yes, father, he is in the pillar, just as he is in me and in you." This was the final challenge. Hiranyakashipu was trapped by his own ego. He had to prove his son wrong to assert his own supremacy. With a tremendous cry of rage, Hiranyakashipu raised his mighty mace and smashed it against the pillar. He expected it to crumble into dust, symbolizing the shattering of his son's foolish beliefs. But what happened next defied all logic and reason. The pillar did not just break, it split wide open with a sound that shook the foundations of the three worlds. It was a sound that was neither a roar nor a scream, but something primal and terrifying. From within the fractured stone a form began to emerge, a form that was beyond anything Hiranyakashipu could have ever imagined or protected himself against. The pillar of the court had become the pillar of truth, revealing a reality far greater than the demon kings. From the broken pillar emerged a being of awe-inspiring terror and majesty. It was a form that fit none of Hiranyakashipu's carefully constructed categories. It was neither man nor beast, but a magnificent fusion of both, the roaring head and sharp claws of a lion atop the powerful body of a man. This was Narasimha, the fierce and protective incarnation of Vishnu, who had come to uphold the faith of his devotee Prahlada. The court was frozen in fear, but Prahlada looked on with love and reverence. The divine had answered his call, not with gentle persuasion, but with a power that matched the tyrant's own ferocity. Hiranyakashipu, for the first time, felt a sliver of fear. But his arrogance quickly took over. He attacked Narasimha, confident in the protections of his boon. The battle that ensued was swift and decisive. Narasimha was not bound by the rules of men or gods. He seized the demon king and dragged him to the threshold of the palace courtyard. This location was a perfect loophole. It was neither indoors nor outdoors. The time was twilight, the sacred moment of dusk, which was neither day nor night. The demon king was being cornered not by force alone, but by a divine intelligence that saw through his clever web of conditions. Narasimha then placed Hiranyakashipu upon his lap. This satisfied another condition, for the demon was neither on the ground nor in the sky. Finally, Narasimha looked at his own hands. He did not use any conventional weapon, be it handheld or thrown. Instead, he used his own sharp, formidable claws, which were not classified as weapons, to disembowel the demon king. In that final, terrifying moment, every single one of Hiranyakashipu's conditions was meticulously met and simultaneously bypassed. The boon that was meant to grant him immortality became the very script for his demise. He was killed by a being that was not a man or a beast, at a time that was not day or night, in a place that was not inside or outside, on a surface that was not earth or sky, and with a tool that was not a weapon. The death of Hiranyakashipu was not just an act of vengeance, it was a profound restoration of cosmic balance, or dharma. It demonstrates that no amount of cleverness can outwit the fundamental laws of the universe. The story teaches that evil, no matter how powerful or well-protected, will eventually face a reality it cannot control. The emergence of Narasimha signifies that the divine can take any form necessary to protect the faithful and vanquish arrogance. This event is celebrated as Narasimha Jayanti, a day to remember that faith is a shield stronger than any boon, and that divine justice, when it arrives, is perfect, precise, and absolute. It is a reminder that good does not always win quietly. Sometimes it must roar. Final powerful roar of Narasimha echoing through the universe.